All right, you stand next to me, and then, come on, guys. You can get closer. All right. First of all, I think you know who I am. I'm Janine Ferris-Piro. I am now the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia. And on May 22nd, I stood at this very podium to announce the initial charging of Elias Rodriguez, 31 years old, of Chicago, Illinois, to a community that was reeling because of one person's actions. Today, we in the United States Attorney's Office continue our journey to seek justice for not only 2, but 4 victims of this horrific crime, which has had enormous consequences and repercussions, not just in the district, but nationwide and worldwide. Not only affecting these victims and their families, but opening old wounds and re-victimizing victims of past anti-Semitism. Now, a few facts. On May 20 of 2025, Elias Rodriguez traveled from Chicago, Illinois, to Washington, D.C., and brought with him a 9mm semi-automatic weapon. While on the plane, he traveled across multiple state lines and drafted a manifesto called an explication on his iPhone. His explication made clear his purpose in committing these crimes that I'm about to read to you was to demonstrate his hatred for the people of Israel. The next day, on the afternoon of May 21, he purchased a ticket to attend a young diplomat's reception sponsored by the American Jewish Committee at the Capitol Jewish Museum, located just 2 blocks from here on 3rd Street in Northwest D.C. Now, the American Jewish Committee, of course, supports Israel and its right to exist in peace and security. That very same night, he watched as people left the reception. When he saw the 4 victims in this case, all of whom were from the Israeli embassy, he crossed the street, he opened fire, killing first Yaron Lashinsky, then killing Sarah Milgram, and when firing these fatal shots, he yelled, "Free Palestine." After he killed Yaron and Sarah, he entered the Capitol Jewish Museum, pulled out a red keffiyeh, and yelled, "I did it for Palestine," after which he was arrested. Now, a D.C. grand jury has charged in this indictment 2 hate crimes, alleging that he murdered Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram because of his bias against the people of Israel. He demonstrated this hatred through his words, "death to Israel," and his violent actions against Yaron and Sarah and their co-workers from the Israeli embassy. He also posted one of his postings on social media, "Please, please, please, God, please, vaporize every Israeli." And now to the charges. A grand jury in the District of Columbia has indicted Elias Rodriguez in a 9-count indictment with the following crimes. Count 1, murder of a foreign official under 18 U.S.C. 1116 for the murder of 30-year-old Yaron Lashinsky, a foreign official employed by the government of Israel. Counts 2 and 3 are hate crimes resulting in death under 18 U.S.C. 249, where the defendant crossed state lines, willfully caused bodily injury to Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram because of actual as well as perceived national origin, which resulted in both of their deaths. Counts 4 and 5, the discharge of a firearm during a crime of violence causing the death of a person through the use of a firearm. The defendant knowingly used, carried, and discharged a firearm during and in relation to a crime of violence, and with malice aforethought, he did unlawfully kill Yaron and Sarah with a firearm. Counts 6 and 7, first-degree murder while armed. under the defendant Rodriguez with deliberate and premeditated malice killed Yaron and Shara by shooting each with a firearm, thereby causing injuries from which each died. Counts 8 and 9, assault with intent to kill while armed with a firearm. He assaulted CS and AT, those are initials, with intent to kill a person. Attached to this indictment are further findings of the grand jury. It's designated as a notice of special findings under 18 U.S.C. 3591 and 92. This begins the statutory process and whether to seek the death penalty. This is a weighty decision. It takes time. There will be a rigorous process, after which the capital case section in the Attorney General's office will advise the Attorney General, and the Attorney General herself will make a decision regarding whether or not this office will seek death against Elias Rodriguez. In that regard, I think it's important to identify a specific special finding, and I direct your attention to, I believe it's paragraph 28. Rodriguez committed an offense against Sarah Milgram in an especially heinous and cruel and depraved manner, in that it involved serious physical abuse to Sarah Milgram, who was particularly vulnerable due to infirmity. Now, let me close by saying that prior to speaking to you today, I spoke with the parents of Yaron Lashinsky as well as Sarah Milgram. The parents of Yaron are in Israel. Sarah's parents are in the United States. These are people who are broken because of one man's actions. These are people who should have been in-laws, but because of one man's action, they will never be able to celebrate a marriage that was intended or the grandchildren that would have resulted. The families want to thank the prosecutors in my office. They want to thank the FBI, the MPD, and all of the people in the Attorney General's office who have worked on this case, and they wanted me to send that message. And now I want to make something perfectly clear. Violence against anyone in this district will not be tolerated, especially violence which has hate at its core and is the genesis of violence. The president put me here to do a job, to clean up the district, to make sure that crime doesn't overshadow this phenomenal city, our nation's capital. And I have throughout my career fought anti-Semitism for 32 years as a prosecutor and a judge. I do so. I fight hate crimes with a vengeance. So don't even think about targeting people in this district because of who they are or because of where they're from. I promise you, justice will be swift and it will be certain. And I will work furiously and diligently with my phenomenal staff to make sure that we prosecute every one of these cases. This is the nation's capital. This is where we celebrate unity. Hate has no place, but justice will rule. And now I want to call upon Harmeet Dillon to my right. She is the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights. You may know her, and I want to thank her and her division for helping us on this. Harmeet?
Thank you, Judge Janine, for your remarks and for your diligent work of your office on this matter. It is my weighty responsibility under federal law to certify any hate crime charges at the federal level in the United States, and we did that in this case with alacrity. The Civil Rights Division remains unwavering in the same commitment that you just heard from Judge Janine. Namely, there will be a zero-tolerance policy in this district and in these United States for any hate-motivated violence, including in this case on the basis of actual and or perceived national origin. The community in question has been reeling from a stream of violence that has been occurring in these United States for almost 2 years now. To those who seek to inflict further pain and suffering on Israeli communities, we will use every legal tool at our disposal to hold them accountable for these actions and deter future actions. The Civil Rights Division is committed to ensuring that every community in these United States is safe from violence, intimidation, and discrimination, as in this case. No one in America should fear for their life because of their faith, religion, ethnicity, or national origin. This indictment reflects our ongoing commitment to hold these criminals accountable, and we will continue to relentlessly pursue justice for Yaron and Sarah, their families, and their communities. I hope this beginning of this process brings some comfort to the many people in this community who have approached the Department of Justice and expressed their deep concern for their safety. I think no one can claim that this is not a serious problem here in our district right now, and it is embarrassing as an American to see that. Next, I'm going to introduce FBI District of Columbia Field Office Criminal Division Special Agent in Charge, Reed Davis.
Thank you, Judge Pirro. Thank you, AG Dillon. Good morning. My name is Reed Davis. I'm the Special Agent in Charge for the Washington Field Office Criminal Division. Today's announcement is a major step forward in our partners in the FBI's efforts to seek justice for the victims and the families of the horrific act at the Capitol Jewish Museum on May 21st. Since that tragic night, our FBI and DOJ victim specialists have forged relationships with the surviving victims and the families of the young couple who were ruthlessly murdered. They have maintained close contact and kept them apprised of significant investigative milestones in the case, and these victim specialists will remain in contact with the families until justice is served. FBI investigation to date indicates that the subject acted alone with the intent to commit a violent act in the District of Columbia. Based on his writings and communications, we believe he was a lone wolf actor, motivated by anti-Zionist and pro-Palestine ideology, with the goal of conducting a mass shooting to call attention to his political agenda. We wouldn't be at this stage without the significant support of our partners on the Washington Field Office Joint Terrorism Task Force, including the Metropolitan Police Department, the Diplomatic Security Service, the U.S. Capitol Police, and many others who have left no stone unturned in this investigation. The FBI field offices across the country also provided vital support, especially our Chicago field office, which conducted numerous interviews. In addition, we are extremely grateful to the members of the D.C. community who shared video footage of the subject's movements. We continue to seek information from the public relevant to this case and others as we see the spread of ideology-motivated violence and mass casualty events across the nation. Taking violent action in support of one's political or personal beliefs is abhorrent, it's unacceptable, and the FBI will rigorously investigate and aggressively pursue those who choose to do so. Our work is not done. This indictment is the next step towards justice, and we'll continue to support the prosecution of the subject through our investigation. And now more than ever, we need the public to be vigilant and report to law enforcement any concerns they may have of an individual who may be considering violent actions. Thank you, and now I'd like to turn it over to MPD Assistant Chief Rami Kyle.
Good morning. I'm Assistant Chief Rami Kyle of the Investigative Services Bureau at the Metropolitan Police Department. Since our officers apprehended Elias Rodriguez and recovered the murder weapon moments after the shooting, our homicide detectives have tirelessly pursued justice. MPD has a solemn obligation of investigating every homicide occurring in the District of Columbia, a duty we do not take lightly. Our detectives work closely with our partners at the FBI Washington Field Office. As this case progressed and as the investigation traveled outside of our city and outside of our jurisdiction. The charges unveiled here this morning underscore our collective commitment to ensuring Rodriguez faces the maximum punishment possible. Calling this a shooting alone doesn't begin to describe the vicious and hateful attack. Rodriguez traveled halfway across the country, came to our city with the intent to murder people simply because of who they are, what they believed, and where they came from. Hate has no place in our community. We continue to stand shoulder to shoulder with all those impacted by the loss of Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram. MPD strongly supports the religious community here in Washington, D.C. We have maintained a heightened presence at religious institutions, and we are in regular contact with leaders of all faiths and work to safeguard our houses of worship. As always, we remind our community to remain vigilant and immediately report any suspicious activity. I want to commend the dozens of MPD officers and fellow first responders that rushed to the Capitol Jewish Museum that night. These brave men and women, they did not know the nature of the threat they were running toward and acted swiftly to take this suspect into custody. I want to thank our partners here at the United States Attorney's Office and the FBI Washington Field Office for their commitment to pursuing justice. Every agency involved in this investigation has worked together seamlessly from the very beginning. And lastly, I want to express our gratitude to our local community for providing tips and video that helped our detectives with this case. I also want to thank our community for supporting our Jewish community in the face of this awful tragedy. Thank you, and I'll now turn it back to Judge Pirro.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions?
Can you clarify as far as the death penalty is concerned? I'm unclear. Are you recommending to the Attorney General that the DOJ go ahead with this death penalty designation, or is this something that you're saying flat out that you're seeking the death penalty?
Okay. Thank you for the question. And what the special findings attached to the indictment, and if you get a copy of the indictment, you'll find it, is an indication that there is a process that we are considering right now. And the Department of Justice has a very rigorous internal process for determining and reviewing cases to determine whether the death penalty is appropriate. The capital case section is responsible for conducting the review. The review includes an examination of all the evidence and of the charges. The defendant is allowed to submit information for consideration by the capital case section as well, which is one of the reasons that we attach these special findings. Once this review is completed, it is then that the Attorney General will determine whether or not to authorize my office to seek death. So the simple question, or the simple answer to your important question is, we are starting the process. We've made no decision yet. Yes, sir.
Judge Pirro, go ahead. There's been reporting and addition after an attack earlier this week on a Trump administration DOJ official that the Trump administration was making plans to increase federal law enforcement throughout the city. Can you confirm if that's accurate and what your office is aware of?
You know, my understanding is that both the Trump administration as well as the Metropolitan Police Department are looking to increase law enforcement efforts because of the violence we're seeing across this country, across this city. I'm not sure specifically what you're referring to, but we just have too much crime.
I just want to ask you.
Hold on. Go ahead.
There's a new FBI report saying that anti-Semitic crimes have gone up 70%. This is the highest number against any religious group. Given your announcement today, do you envision any enhanced prosecution efforts, deterrence efforts? Give us some context about that.
Look, I think your question is an important one, and it makes it clear that we have a problem with anti-Semitism in this country, and the statistics bear that out. And I think now more than ever, we are seeing increased numbers. So what does that mean? What it means, if you can get from, my tone, we're going to be very aggressive. You heard from the FBI, the MPD. We're going to look for these cases. We're going to prosecute these cases to the full force of the law. It's a problem, and we're not going to tolerate it. Anti-Semitism has historically been one of the biggest scabs in the world that keeps getting picked on and picked at. So from my perspective, I will go forward with every case with vengeance.
Judge Judah, do you support a federal takeover of Washington, D.C.?
Well, yeah, that is a decision for the president. And I think that what the president was saying is that we're seeing far too much crime being committed by young people, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, that I can't get my hands on. I mean, I don't know if you've seen some of the pictures, but, you know, young people are coddled, and they don't need to be coddled anymore. They need to be held accountable. They shouldn't be going to arts and crafts in family court. They need to understand that enough is enough, and that the D.C. Council has to repeal some of these absurd ordinances and laws that they've had passed that do nothing to protect the people of this city and of this district. And I will reference a case that I wrote an op-ed piece on that I've been talking about for weeks. A young person gets on a bus with an illegal gun. There is a family on the bus. He makes a decision to shoot someone in the chest. There, to me, that's intent to kill. But for the grace of God, that individual did not die. Now, he's got a gun. It's illegal. He used the gun. Guess what the sentence was? I got a conviction. The sentence was probation. We can't have that. And by the way, he wasn't a kid. He was 19. These are the rules of the D.C. Council. They've got to be changed. We've got to have the ability to let young people know that they're going to be accountable. And if you look at some of these pictures of these kids being beaten by crews and bloodied up, and you want to tell me that, you know, it's only a kid who did it, no. Take a look at the bloodied up face and body, and you'll know that it's more than little kids doing this kind of thing.
Are you trying to get your office to take over what Brian Schwab is doing? Do you want to take over juvenile justice here?
I'm not trying to do anything vis-a-vis Brian Schwab. All I want to do is clean up D.C. That's why the president put me here. And youth crime is on the rise. In the last 4 years, we've had 150,000 cases of youth violence. Okay, 4 years ago. Now it's close to 500,000 cases of youth violence. We've got D.C. as one of the highest murder rates in the country. So we can talk about crime going down, but going down from where? So, I mean, this is something that is a whole other issue. Today is about this indictment and making sure that if you intend to commit a crime of anti-Semitism or hate, we're coming for you.
You spoke to your own and Sarah's parents. Have they taken a position on whether they want the Justice Department to seek the death penalty? And separately, Steve Jensen was supposed to be up there alongside you announcing this today, but he's been fired. Do you have any explanation why?
Okay, I'm going to talk about Sarah and Yaron's parents. I spoke to them, and I told them that the process is beginning, that they will have an opportunity and a right to put their input into what decision is ultimately made. Okay, and I'm not going to talk about politics today. I'm talking about crime. I'm talking about hate crimes, and that's the extent of it. Okay.
The reporter was asking the question. There is word that there are going to be more federal law enforcement, including perhaps National Guard, on the streets of D.C. today and tomorrow as a result of some of this recent violence. What is your reaction, or could Assistant Chief
Do you know that to be a fact?
I know that there is an effort to increase law enforcement based upon what we've seen. But I also know that today is about the Leszczynskis and Sarah and two other victims whose lives are forever changed because of one individual's decision to come to this city and create a ripple effect that has rippled throughout the world. And that's enough on the other stuff. Okay?
Could we ask Assistant Chief Kyle for his reaction to that? More federal law enforcement? Could you come to the microphone?
No, I'd rather we talk about Leszczynski. You could call him later. I'm done.
You mentioned specifically Rodriguez's actions towards Sarah being the reason why you would. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? I know you mentioned it.
Yeah. No, I can't. That will come out at trial. But I refer you to that part of the special findings. It's horrific. Thank you all very much. Okay. Take care.
Thank you. Let's go.